Hello and welcome to You Write, the podcast where creativity meets community.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Each week on You Write, we challenge our listeners to write a story in just 30 minutes, using 3 of 5 randomly generated words.
It's a fun and fast-paced exercise to spark your imagination and get those creative juices flowing.
We'll read your submissions, offer feedback, and discuss the unique twists and turns of each story.
Whether you're a seasoned author or just love a good tale, You Write is your place to explore the endless possibilities of storytelling.
So get you a crown, get cozy. I don't really say crayon like that. I say crayon.
Crane?
No, I say crayon.
Crayon?
Yes. And let's go ahead and take a dip into the stories of this week.
Just dip a toe in there.
Just dip a little pinky toe.
Just a little toe. What do you got?
You mean what's new?
Sure.
I'm a little bit choked up right now because, and by choked up, I mean my voice is weird because I was just now impersonating Louis Armstrong.
I may include a clip of that. I had the pleasure of being able to record that lovely rendition.
It was so good, guys.
It was nice. Yeah.
You're going to see and you're going to be impressed.
So yeah, hang around to the end for the tag, which will include an excerpt from a certain Louis Armstrong song. Actually, who wrote that? Do you know? Nobody knows.
I don't know. His is the earliest version that I've ever heard.
So maybe it's Louis?
Maybe. But you know what? You're really not going to get the full effect unless you had been able to see my expression while singing. Because if you have not seen a video of Louis Armstrong singing Nobody Knows, is that what it's called?
I think so.
Okay. If you haven't seen that, you have not lived.
Yeah, it's a very indelible image.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I can't forget it. Like sometimes at night when I'm trying to sleep, I just see his face.
Wake up screaming.
Yes. It's scary. Yeah, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, how about you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Sorry, I don't have anything else to add. No, it's good.
Good. Hey, no news is good news.
No news is fairly good news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
No news is not bad news.
Nor is it good news.
Right.
It's just not news.
It's the absence of news.
Well, what do you think of our stories this week?
I enjoyed them so much. I was highly entertained, and I wanted several of them. I didn't want them to end.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of stories that I wanted some more out of this week.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, without prolonging the inevitable any more than we have to,
Yes.
whose story are we reading this week?
We are reading the story by
Steve Living Room.
Woo!
So we will be reading The Rose of Contentment by Steve Living Room.
That's right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. Rob rotated around the swivel chair, the not-so-bland memory of his latest defeat crushing his spirit. He just couldn't catch a break. His loneliness was weighing on him. Each new date ending in failure brought him one more step down. He needed a change. He had no clue what to change. A run might help. That usually helped him clear his head. He drove to the most deserted part of the beach, parked and stretched. Just before starting, he got a text from his brother. "How'd the date go last night?" followed by a wink. Somehow that wink was mocking. He ignored the text and began his run. He liked to run just above the newest tide line. The sand was firm, smooth, and dry, but still much softer than concrete. Why can't I find love? He thought to himself. If I don't find a wife before I'm 50, my brother will never let me hear the end of it. I'm in good shape. I have a good job. I have friends, and they tell me I have a good sense of humor. I don't have any bad vices, so what the hell is wrong with me? He continued this thought process until he came upon a rose on the beach. He stopped and looked around. No one else was anywhere near him. How and why would a rose just appear on a beach? Did it wash ashore? Did someone just drop it? The last one didn't seem likely, as deserted as it is today. He picked up the rose. At least he thought it was a rose. It didn't quite look like a normal rose. Maybe a cross between a rose and a carnation? He's not much of a flower guy. It smelled nice, like a faint perfume that's somehow hard to figure out. He tucked the rose in between his boxer briefs and shorts, careful not to hurt it, and resumed his run. I've got a lot going for me, he continued this thought process as he turned around at the end of this section of the beach, 2.6 miles according to Strava. I like my job, my friends, my condo. I'm in good shape. The words were the same, but the feelings associated with them have changed slightly. He seemed on the verge of something as his normal 5-mile run limit approached. He didn't want his run to end just now. He felt close to something in his brain. He decided to turn around again and keep going. If he got tired, he could stop and walk back at any time. But he didn't feel tired. In fact, he felt really good. That's it, he thought. I feel really good. In fact, I'm happy. This epiphany crashed over him like a tidal wave, but instead of knocking him down, it picked him up. He felt elevated. It bathed him in warmth and strength. He checked his Garmin watch and saw that his pace was well below his average of 9 minutes per mile and still feeling strong. In fact, he's never felt this good. Hey man, text me back. I want to hear all the juicy details. His brother's text chimed on his watch. Yet another wink. Rob laughed and ignored it. As he approached the turnaround again, his grin widened. He bent into the turn, arms out like an airplane, and giggled like a kid, picked up speed again. I'm already happy. This thought astounded him. He didn't need to compete with his brother, especially not in this. His online profile was a long piece about wanting to find the one for him, longing for that perfect person. Yet now he realizes he can still go out on dates. But he doesn't need or want a woman in his life. He would still be open to the right one if she came along, but that is secondary. He is truly happy. Rob passes 10 miles, clicks off his Strava, and sees he just ran the fastest he's run in a very long time, maybe forever. This was definitely the longest he's run in years. Rob grins and realizes he still has the rose tucked in his shorts. He takes it out carefully and walks his cooldown towards his car. He sees a beautiful young woman and gives her the rose without a thought. I found this on the beach. He passes her by without another glance and keeps moving, almost skipping to his car. He will get home, shower, eat, and change his online dating profile.
Excellent.
Excellent story, Steve.
Excellent story, Steve. Well, Steve, that was a very down-to-earth and relatable story, and it just made me think of a whole lot of things. It just, it activated a lot of my schemata.
Can you define that?
Okay, not to be confused with stigmata.
Yes, because that's what I first heard.
And my stigmata just starts glowing.
Yikes, that's
Hey, it's almost Halloween. Okay, so schemata, what I mean is like the things that I'm already familiar with, and then you hear things that are related to it, and it's a learning concept. It's a concept that I had to learn as a teacher. It's where you gotta, instead of just like throwing people into the middle of something that they're not familiar with, you have to attach it to something that they are familiar with so you can activate their schemata.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, my first thought I had though was, I think it's funny to think about the difference in both time periods and cultures whenever he talks about if he doesn't have a wife by the time he's 50. Because in a lot of cultures, it's like if you don't have a wife by the time you're 20,
that's it.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
You're going to die alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it made me think of David the Gnome, or something like that. Anyway, like the kids, his grandkids, he was a grandpa, and his grandkids would be like doing dumb shit. And the grandma would be like, and David would get mad, and the grandma would be like, "Oh, honey, they're just 70 years old. Because like their lifespan was like so much longer, you know, that at the age of 70, they were like babies.
Wee lads.
Wee lads.
I believe that's how never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so that struck me, but I like that. I like that a lot because it's just an indicator of our evolving society.
Mm-hmm. The fact that we can not pass judgment on somebody for not being married by the time that they're 50.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the fact that the only person that he calls out as maybe giving him some shit about it would be his brother.
Right.
Which, I mean, probably would have done that anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what brothers are for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was funny that I think we get all 3 of the words in the first sentence.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I read that and I was like, oh, wow. Just get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Then you can go wherever you want from there.
Exactly. It just happens that way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought this also was a good story. How familiar are you with the Stephen King World's universe?
Me?
Yeah.
Somewhat, but not as much as you.
Yeah. So the rose felt very significant here, because plays a significant role in the Dark Tower series specifically. I mean, like, I don't think this is spoilers, but the Dark Tower is literally surrounded by roses.
Oh. So do you think this is related to the Dark Tower? Like, do you think it's inspired by it in any way? Or
I would say inspired by seems safe.
Why? Just because there's a rose?
And because the rose is like the turning point. It's where like all his thoughts are. Basically, we get the line, the words were the same, but the feelings associated with them have changed slightly. And that was after he comes into contact with this rose that washes ashore.
Okay, yeah.
Which I suppose, why do you think this rose is there?
That's a good question that I honestly hadn't thought of.
Because that's definitely not a place where you would find a rose.
Okay, so my first thought is maybe it's supposed to be like what do they call it? When something is like tricking you to go in one direction. It's a bird. A red herring.
That's a
Oh, is that a fish? Oh.
Not a herring. No.
Oh, no, I think you're right. I think a heron is a bird.
Yeah, a heron.
And a herring is a fish. Yeah,
red herring. Yeah.
It's like tricking you to go a certain direction. So I feel like maybe Steve Living Room was trying to be like, hey, this is going to be romantic. You got a rose, and like it's going to lead to a romance in the end. And then you got a beautiful young woman, but then that's not where it goes.
Yeah. The rose, if nothing else, felt symbolic of this personal acceptance.
Yeah.
So it felt like a journey towards personal acceptance. And
or maybe it was like he was romancing himself. He's like, actually, I'm going to be in a relationship with myself.
And I think that's very healthy. I think that's a great place to lead us in this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think an Indian girl recently married herself.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Wow. How does that work? Like legally?
I don't know. I'm not really that familiar with the Indian legal system, but unfortunately, but I read the article, but I don't really remember the details. I just remember it was a big deal and it was like making a statement. And in that society, I think that you're very much expected to get married.
So she just took it into her own hands, literally.
Yeah. She took her own hand. Yeah.
I bet that was a fun ceremony.
Yeah. I wish I had been there.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
I've actually heard that Indian weddings can be quite the event.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be something I would absolutely attend.
Oh,
given any opportunity.
So I really love the positive spin on this.
Yeah.
That was very relatable too. Just and I the part where he's like he'd never run so fast or so long before, I could really relate to that because it's like when you have that levity of your heart and mind, then you're suddenly able to you suddenly have all this energy. It's like you're flying, Well,
yeah, it's like it feels like you're pulling a weight, like a literal weight.
Yes.
You don't realize how much energy you're devoting to feeling bad about yourself.
Yeah.
or just feeling down.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah. It soaks up so much of your energy. It's just
Yes.
a really, really bad sponge. Yeah. And then we just, we get this growth around our character. Like I said, after he finds the rose, the words were the same, but the feelings associated had changed slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, we get his brother texts him back with another wink, and basically he felt like he was being mocked. And then later he can just laugh it off and ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, kind of like removing that weight from your shoulders.
Right.
Laugh it off, and then he could just keep running and just.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on and just starts acting like a little kid,
Yeah.
giggling and running like a airplane man.
Yes.
In my head, I hear him going, meow.
He probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
really
thinking,
like that.
how would you spell that? Meow.
Meow.
Yeah, I think you just have to describe it.
Yeah.
And I think you did a good job, Steve.
Mm-hmm. It left me feeling levity myself.
The line, he doesn't need or want a woman in his life. He would still be open to the right one if she came along, but this is secondary. He is truly happy. And basically my thought was, that's essentially just self-assurance. He's becoming self-assured, and that is no small feat.
Right.
That takes a lot of just looking in and finding that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no small feat.
Nope.
What did you think of that line? He doesn't need or want a woman in his life. He would still be open to the right one if she came along, but that is secondary.
I mean, I have always ascribed to that philosophy, so I could really relate to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and also it's like these days, we're talking about being mindful. So it's like realizing where you're at in life and just like kind of being present instead of longing for something else. Just realize what you have.
Yeah.
And be thankful for it. And I feel like that is what this character is learning to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good message. And the rose being the turning point there further makes me think that this is inspired by Stephen King. It's a very pivotal symbol in those books. So I do think that it is calling on that idea, if nothing else.
But it wasn't exactly a rose. It was a rose carnation hybrid.
Right. So maybe it is Steve's own version of the rose.
Maybe.
Putting his own carnationism twist on the rose. What is the significance?
Say love, it is a river. Oh my God.
I was like, what is it?
So it's a fucking river.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. What is the significance or like the symbol of a carnation? Like, what is that? Is that something? Is that a thing?
Probably, but I don't know.
I don't either. I was wondering if that may have been significant, like mashing up the rose and the carnation. Maybe there's some thing that we're missing there. But either way.
Or if it is inspired by Stephen King, maybe Steve Living Room is just like, I'm going to make it not like Stephen King, but inspired by Stephen King. And I'm going to make a carnation rose hybrid.
Yeah, inspired by, but not meant to be a direct call to it. So on a technical side, Steve, I had to go in and actually add paragraph breaks in this because I found that I actually couldn't. I was having a lot of trouble reading it, especially aloud, and keeping my place. So while you're writing, in your opinion, Rachel, where do you think is appropriate for paragraph breaks?
Like generally?
Yeah, just...
I think that when you're switching scenes is a great place for a paragraph break. If you are switching ideas, it's a way to like add emphasis and contrast.
Yeah.
So paragraph breaks are very important. Those of you who are not doing it, please do it.
It gives weight to the ideas that you're trying to get across by putting it at the end of a paragraph.
Yes, and it puts it into digestible chunks.
Yeah.
Because if it's all just one, it's like trying to swallow a whole loaf of bread at the same time.
Yeah, it does make it difficult. And so I thought it was worth going through what makes sense as far as when paragraph breaks should be. Yeah. I think scene changes, tone changes. If you're in dialogue, I think that each person each time you switch who is speaking, I think that's basically a paragraph break.
Yeah.
Because it then becomes less of paragraphs and more like a script.
Right.
And each line falls on each character falls on its own line.
Mm-hmm.
So paragraph breaks really, really, really do help.
Yes.
So,
okay, well, I feel that we should probably move on now
yes.
to the next story, which is The Bodhisattva and the Itch.
By a new submitter.
A new submitter, Chillaxing Yak.
Love that name.
I love it too.
We got some good names here, guys.
Seriously.
Chillaxing Yak.
And it seems that Chillaxing Yak is kind of goes hand in hand with the topic of a bodhisattva.
I couldn't agree more.
Excellent.
And before we get into it, bodhisattva is a lovely word.
It really is.
I love saying it.
Isn't it great?
Yes, bodhisattva.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but the first time I read this title, I was like, that would make an amazing band name.
Yeah. There's probably some band out there named that.
The Bodhisattva and the Itch.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if there's one that exists like that, but yeah.
You had me hooked from the title, Chillaxing Yak.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to admit, I didn't know what a bodhisattva was. I could not necessarily assign a meaning to it, but at least an origin to it. I figured it was from Buddhism at some level.
Yes.
But apparently it's a Sanskrit word.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that I know any Sanskrit.
You do now.
I do now.
You do now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, Buddha is the enlightened one because Bodhi means enlightened. So Bodhisattva, I don't know what the sattva means, but it's enlightened something.
Maybe teacher, like enlightened teacher?
Maybe. I knew what this meant only because my ex used to call me a bodhisattva. I mentioned this the other day.
Yeah.
Until I proved to him that I am not a bodhisattva by being a bitch.
Okay.
I'm sorry, ex. You know who you are.
No names dropped here.
Nope.
So the Bodhisattva and the Itch, what do you think of this?
I thought it was lovely. I love that the Itch was a character.
Yes, the personification of the Itch was an absolute delight.
It was. It really was. And it really makes sense too. I was like, you know what? From now on, I'm going to think of itches like that. Like they're a entity, or maybe it's just one entity, which goes off and harasses other people, then comes back, to me.
Yeah. And I guess personification isn't necessarily the right word because it comes as a spider at one point. And so, but either way, semantic.
Yeah.
I just thought that this was a well structured story. It's a well-paced story. And it's based on the rabbit hole that I went down after reading this, it feels like a modern take on becoming enlightened from Buddhism.
Modern?
Yeah, modern
so?
Because it is ultimately it ends with the satisfaction. And that isn't necessarily a traditional Buddhist form of enlightenment.
Right.
Seeking satisfaction in something. It's more about becoming removed from these sensations.
But it's almost like he had to reach nirvana in order to be able to go back and be like, okay, I did that. Now I'm going to embrace the satisfaction of scratching an itch. Because he did reach nirvana or enlightenment when he was like, when he finally went to his room and he started to focus on the object of his meditation, which was the feeling of satisfaction given. So it's almost like he's been fighting it this whole time, but in fact, it was his route to nirvana.
Yeah, to accept it as something that isn't necessarily within his control and to accept it for what it is.
Right.
And not to downplay it or undermine it or dismiss it or to just ignore it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just don't try to fight it.
Yeah.
Like that could be your route to salvation.
Is the itch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a delightful message. I was legitimately captivated all the way through. So the 3 beats that we hit of him attempting to meditate and the itch getting in his way. Again, just going back to, it's a well structured story, and we always come around to him. The way that he begins to meditate, he studied his breath, calmed his mind, and began focusing on the object of his meditation, which changes each time. So can we call that growth because he's changing the focus of his meditation, or is it just because it's a different meditation session?
I don't know. To me, it seemed kind of like the growth was at the end whenever he changed it to meditating on the satisfaction by scratching an itch. But at the beginning, it just seemed to me that in his meditation sessions, he just like rotates through different topics or something. And also, it leads me to wonder, yak. What's your
Chillax and yak.
Chillax and yak. It leads me to wonder if you, when writing this, were referring to a specific itch of your own in your own life.
Yeah, you think like an actual itch,
No. Like a something that you want and have been trying to fight against, and then you finally just were like, no, I'm gonna just like go with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can read it metaphorically in that regard, and that you can take satisfaction from something as a path towards, well, can we relate that back to Steve's story?
Can we?
I don't think I can.
Okay.
I was like, no, I can't. But yeah, just the idea of...
Well, we could. It's like, yeah, we totally could. It's like embracing what is, rather than trying for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is there.
Yeah, because in Steve's story, he's embracing the fact that he is single, and he's like, I'm happy. And then in this story, he's finally embracing the fact that they have this itch.
Yeah, they're itchy.
Yeah.
Embrace the fact.
Yeah.
What did you think of the last line of this one? Be itchy, for everything is impermanent.
I didn't really understand it. I understood the impermanence thing with Buddhism. I mean, I kind of understood it. It was just like, I don't know. What did you think about it?
Actually, I liked it. And the fact that the Bodhisattva made a famous calligraphy of this.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny. And just the idea, basically, you would not normally think of an itch as something to aspire to be. You wouldn't want to be itchy. But under the context of impermanence, itchy is almost an overwhelming sensation.
Yeah.
So it's like you have like a lot of sensation, like too much, like you gotta scratch it. And so that's kind of what I associated with it, was this overly sensitive. I don't even know how to say that. Like hyper sensation, like too much sensation, but basically just to relish that because everything is impermanent. Yeah. Don't dismiss the itch. Just be itchy.
Right.
Man, I'm not going to lie. As I was reading this, I was so itchy.
Wow.
Well, no, because it's sitting there talking about these itches and things. I just found myself like scratching.
So it had an effect.
Oh, it did. It did.
A psychosomatic effect.
No doubt. No doubt. And yeah, we kind of get just a small bit of escalation of him becoming more and more frustrated with this itch. But to circle back to the itch itself, there were some delightful lines describing the itch. Sometimes it would be off doing its own thing. It's just like the idea that an itch is out, just
chillaxing
out like a yak.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many good lines. It got bored while he's looking for a hat. Yeah, he's off looking for a hat, and the itch got bored and left. God, that's so delightful.
And that's a really good. I really liked that too, because like thinking about it, there have been times whenever I've been able to like resist scratching. I mean, I guess we all have scratching an itch, and it's almost like I do have to like detach myself from reality in order to do it, and then eventually the itch does go away. So it is kind of like it gets bored, and it's like, okay, this is no fun anymore.
Yeah. I couldn't get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love this story.
Yeah, it was great.
This was wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Chillaxing Yak, and bringing us the Bodhisattva and the itch.
Thank you muchly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, all right. Our next story is by Walker by Faith with
Surrender.
Are you going to do it?
What am I going to do?
The song Surrender?
Which one?
Pick one.
No.
Okay. Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
This
I
is
was like thinking of a church song. I surrender all. I should say, I surrender all.
I surrender all.
I surrender all.
All what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
That was good though.
That was Surrender
Yeah.
by us.
Yes.
You're all so welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, in this story, come to find out, this is Walker by Faith's story.
Yes, it is. And it is quite. What in the hell is that word I'm trying to think of?
You're trying to think of cute
No.
because it's real cute.
Well, it is. But I was trying to think of it is quite a. It's very different from his previous stories.
Yeah, quite the deviation.
There's the word.
Okay.
I was like digression, distraction, diversion. Nope. Yes.
You were close with diversion,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It was quite the deviation.
quite the deviation.
It's quite the deviation from Walker by Faith's previous stories.
Yes. Yeah, definitely went in the opposite direction from what we're used to.
Yeah.
Which, man, I'm here for it.
Mhm.
So this is essentially a nonfiction story, it sounds like, from the perspective of a grandchild.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, sounds like a grandchild.
Mhm.
Yeah. Paw and Mimi. Yeah.
Pow.
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 Yeah, Paw.
Mhm.
But very cute story.
It was adorable.
So we find out that there are some good lines in here talking about the relationship between Papa and Mimi. Theirs was a story of love found late in life.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs was a story of perseverance in the face of hardship. Theirs was a story of learning and adapting even into late middle age. Theirs was ultimately a story of joyful and bottomless love.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a good message, and that was an interesting paragraph right there, because we begin it with theirs was not a love story of star-crossed high school sweethearts, but we move into 4 different beats of what their story was. So the repetition of theirs was a story I thought that was an interesting use of the repetition there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to tie it back to Steve Living Room's story again.
Wow.
I think that this is an interesting contrast to Steve Living Room's story about, well, essentially the idea of finding that perfect person, and that theirs was more about persevering with who you have,
Yeah.
and finding out that, oh, we actually are perfect, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't present itself that way. So I thought that was, after coming off of Steve Living Room's story, I couldn't help but make the connection. But I thought that was interesting that we get presented here with love as work. Ultimately, it's worth it. So.
Yeah. I like that they found each other not, as young people.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we actually find out that she was 44 and Papa was only 40. And I just want to clarify that my wife and I actually have a very similar age gap in a very similar direction. So
this one really hit home.
It hit home. And whenever you say she was 44 and Papa was only 40, I'm like, man, what does that say about us? Because we're not that old.
No.
Kim's a cradle robber.
She is.
That's what it means.
I have always felt that about her.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you said as much?
Nope. I'm saying it right now, though.
Right now, to the world.
Right now, I want the world to know.
To you, our
that
masses.
Your wife is, a cradle robber.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why she tells me I can't shave my beard. Otherwise, people will throw her in jail.
It's true, because Matt looks like a wee tyke.
A wee lad.
A wee lad.
Except for my bushy beard.
Right.
Yeah.
Which he maintains for that very purpose.
also thought it was interesting. It was the moment that he knew she might be into white guys.
Yeah.
That was interesting that you delay that until that moment for you to tell us that she is not white.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought that was an interesting way of revealing that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but I feel like I want to say this is an old Do the Right Thing episode, but when to present somebody's race and when not to present somebody's race.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's whenever it becomes contextually relevant.
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point? Like why bother bringing it up? So I don't know why, but that struck me as a really cool way of making the race relevant to bring it up, and an interesting way to tell us that she's not also a white person.
Right.
So I thought that was clever.
Or it could be that she is a white person who has always been into not white people.
Exactly.
And then she's finally like, you know what? I do like a white guy from time to time.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah.
White dude. Some white bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was an interesting line.
It was. I like the way that Pow Pow, I love to say that.
Pow Pow.
Pow Pow.
Pow Pow.
I like the way that Pow Pow would hide the toilet paper rolls in her, bag and stuff like that. Because it reminded me of what my stepdad does. John, I'm talking to you.
John, you're out there. We know it.
We know you're out there. He hides things in my bag, but it is often like a whole huge 3-ply toilet paper roll.
Just maybe he's trying to do you a favor. Be like, you don't want to be caught in the world without some toilet paper.
Maybe, but it'll be all kinds of random things. Like, he's put a loaf of bread before in my backpack when I wasn't looking. I get home, open it, loaf of bread falls out.
That's hilarious.
Canned goods, all kinds of things.
I'm going to start doing that now.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Kim's going to get to work and open her bag and it's just tuna.
Do it. It's hilarious.
Okay. All right. I like, there's a callback here. Love is not about control. It is about surrender. And actually, I think we get that 3 different times. So I feel like that was a good way to structure us within your story,
Yes.
Walker, to call us back to that. And just some really heartwarming parts. Just in general, it's a really cute story. And them talking about this story and just them not being able to help but just laugh while they're talking about it. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
And it's a cute perspective from the grandkids' perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, love isn't a limited quality. You don't have to rob it from one place to fill it in another. I thought that was a good line.
Yeah.
And then we end on love is not about control. It is about surrender. So yeah.
Amen, Walker.
Amen, Walker. Very charming story. Well, all right. So our next story
is Win or Die by Mio Mersoy.
There he is.
There he is.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Yeah. So the first time that I read this, I was like, what in the hell is he talking about?
Same. I was so confused.
I was too. And I was like, okay, this has gone too far.
This is not working, Mia.
This is not. But then
What have you done?
I read it again and it suddenly hit me what I believe that he was talking about, which is the act of procreation.
Yes.
The act of fertilization.
Yes.
More specifically.
Maybe even more specifically, the act of conception. Are you debating whether that's more or less specific than fertilization?
Yeah, I'm going to go with fertilization.
Okay.
Because it's the race into the womb.
That doesn't matter. Semantics, academic.
Right. But and then whenever I read it that way, it was hilarious. I just love the way that he talks about the immigrants, the poor immigrants, organizing the event, pooling all of their resources. And the event, in fact, is boning.
Fucking.
Right. And it's hilarious. It's like, the conditions of the environment plus the burning heat of the area has already caused the defeat of many competitors. It's when I read it that way, I just laughed.
It essentially requires a reread
Right.
once you have that idea,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll be honest, I didn't have that idea. I never on my own landed on that idea.
I told him.
It was only it was only thanks to Rachel cluing me into the fact that there were comments,
Mm-hmm.
and then going in and reading the comments, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and I was like, but how? Like, I didn't get that, and then
Mm-hmm.
I reread it, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's there.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes.
I think the clue to me was the sacred prize of the right to life.
Yes.
Is right at the end. I was like, okay, that like seals the deal for me.
Right.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was like a commentary on the Olympics and the Iman Khalif controversy, the Algerian boxer. Because it was like men and women, like the men are stronger than us, they can, and they're always going to beat us. And,
and they are dominable just like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a second. And then I thought it was a commentary on the election.
Yeah, the name Kamala. That's what I thought we were doing, was some commentary on the U.S. presidential election.
Yeah.
And I thought that odd. And then I tried to assign meaning to all of the other, like comma 101 and comma 102. I was like, so are all women in solidarity, like assigning designations of comma in support for, and I was like, space, it's not working.
Yeah. It was weird. I thought it was some type of political commentary, but I mean, it clearly is referring to Kamala Harris.
I suppose it could be.
I think it definitely is, because it says that the parents are immigrants and then the mother is an Indian woman. I think that it's saying that it's like a race or a competition of, oh yeah, see, no one ever imagined that it would be a rivalry of such historical importance.
So yeah, it is both. It is a commentary on the presidential election and what Kamala means to the United States at this time, and what it meant at her conception.
Right, but it's not even a political commentary, because it's not even saying anything about who should win the election or it's just literally taking this person and talking about their I don't want to say conception, because that would make you right and me wrong, but
God forbid,
the fertilization of their egg. Their conception.
Yes, the conception.
Yes. And then it's just funny.
It is funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was confusing. I have to admit, it was confusing.
It really was.
But once I got there, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And Mio Mersoy, I want some paragraph breaks, dog. Give me some paragraph breaks.
Seriously. I was like,
you know what?
I wanted to go in and just edit, but I don't think I have that power.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do not have that power.
We don't.
I will give everyone a pass.
Mm-hmm.
When you're done writing, you can go back and you can add paragraph breaks.
You can.
You can. I'd even allow some commas if you find one that you're missing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you got to do all the formatting and everything inside 30 minutes.
No, I don't. When I write for this, I do not do that. I write the thing, the content, and then I go back and format where necessary.
Yeah. I'll admit I'm kind of OCD while I'm writing. Like if I find that I missed a comma, I will actually go back and fix it.
I do too, but I still go back through and edit if necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. But
after the 30 minutes.
Mio Mersoy, this is a fascinating story.
It's a fascinating take on procreation.
Yes. And have we always had some sort of mystery to untangle from Mio Mersoy's stories each time?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so we found your calling card.
Yep.
And I think we deciphered it.
I think we did.
Pretty
sure we we did.
At least for me, with the help of our wonderful listeners providing their commentary on what they thought.
Right.
Because I'd have never got there, guys.
Mm.
That was a struggle for me. But once you guys gave me the little push I needed, yeah, that was fun.
Accepted it.
I accepted it. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
So fun.
All right. Our next story is by
Mexican.
And
it's called Squeak.
Squeak.
This was hilarious and adorable.
And savage.
I just thought it was so cute. I mean, I didn't know that Kim could write like this.
Me neither.
Okay, now we know.
Now we know.
I thought it was very good, and I just love how she like makes it this brutal rivalry against the dog and the toy.
Yes.
And I love it. It's like your form has changed. Last you appeared, you were completely brown. The time before that, yellow. You now present yourself in a lighter shade of brown and slightly longer. But I know it's you. I love that.
You won't fool me.
No, I love it. Oh my goodness.
I love the first sentence, if you can even call it a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
The audacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because Kim and Matt say that a lot.
Yes. The audacity.
The audacity.
Yeah.
Whether you came here on your own or they brought you.
It is still audacious.
Imagining the squeaky toy coming there on its own is hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it.
And from a technical side, the one line paragraphs or like the breaks with focus, concentrate, victory. I don't know why, but I really liked those. Like I don't even know what you would call that.
I think it's because it sets it apart. It puts emphasis on it.
Yeah, and again, I don't even know. I can't even tell you why I like it, and I can't tell you what it does to make the story stronger. But I feel like they do. But yeah, I don't know what it is on those that really works on me. But I think you're right. Just adds emphasis and gives it some weight there.
Yeah, I love how it's like a few laps around the room just to throw you off. I sweep you up in one of those laps. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it.
Do you know at which point you thought that this was about a dog and their squeaky toy?
Well, I honestly didn't know that it was a squeaky toy at first, even though it's called Squeak. But I did definitely think that it was Otto. And that it was like...
Which is our dog.
Right. Yeah. An animal or something. I don't know.
For me, it was... I had to find the source of your screeches. The source of your screeches. That's whenever I was like, okay, this is a story about our dog.
Yeah.
And...
You're so disoriented. Pathetic. I love it. My favorite part, though... was where it says, now to disembowel you, piece by fluffy piece, I will remove your entrails. And where it's like, your limp corpse will watch me destroy the source of your screech.
Again, savage.
So good.
So savage.
Yes, but she can give a corpse of a toy watching. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and then to end it all, I think I need a nap.
Yeah.
Where I'll dream of your next inevitable appearance and how I will end you again. Maybe someone will bring me a treat.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
It is so cute, and not gonna lie, it's well written.
It is indeed well written.
Awesome. So I think it's time for us to move on to Nick to You.
Nick to You.
Nick to You. Okay, so Nick to You. I was immediately getting Street Fighter vibes from this.
So I take it you have not seen Avatar. Not the blue people. The Avatar, The Last Airbender.
No, I have not.
So it is a Nickelodeon cartoon. Actually, highly regarded, well-regarded cartoon.
Okay.
I watched it for the first time as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it
Like as a grown up?
as a grown up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is more like that than Street Fighter?
I think so, especially
Okay.
just because there's different people that can bend fire,
Oh,
water,
yeah.
air, and
Oh, okay.
earth. So
Okay.
it very much plays on those differences and like how people are different between those. But anyway, that's a complete aside. But I think as few other people had mentioned in the comments, it gave him those vibes. But this kind of gave me like Avatar if it wasn't written for kids. Like this feels like it has some more adult themes behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Avatar was necessarily a childish show. It really wasn't. It had some really profound messages in there.
Okay.
There were the line, of course, but don't think my appreciation will save you from defeat. I like this type of rivalry. And whenever we put the prompt out, that was more or less kind of what I thought we would get, is some of this just open rivalry and like this appreciation and admiration and love of a contest. Like that's kind of what I was expecting. Not that I am disappointed, by no means am I disappointed in these types of rivalries. But this was kind of a more traditional rivalry, I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very, very well done. This is a very well put together story. And there was a line, I hate that we just keep making references to other things, but
I know, but it's really hard
it
not
really,
to.
It really is hard. And I'm going to do one more. We had done this countless times over nearly a century, which I thought that was a good clue that we're not dealing with just normal people. And rather than our fights becoming more prolonged and involved, they had become shorter and more brutal. I'm sure you haven't seen this one, but there's another. This is actually an anime called Samurai Champloo. I don't think it's a spoiler, but one of the final battles, like this rivalry that's in this show, ends in one fight that happens in one moment.
Right.
So that's kind of the vibes that it gave me there, which I thought that was a fantastic designation that they made, that rather than becoming longer and longer and more epic, bigger battles, it's just faster,
Yes.
more brutal.
Yes.
I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it was really exciting action sequence for sure. Okay, so am I allowed to say what it reminded me of?
Yes.
Okay. So this kind of reminded me of, do y'all watch Black Mirror?
I have, yeah.
Okay. There's this one episode which I can't explain why, but I absolutely love striking vipers. The fighting and like the keep coming back for more fights and for more interactions really reminds me of that. And it makes me wonder if Kai and
Twin.
Okay. It makes me wonder if they are actually lovers.
Yeah. Well, and because they have this admiration for the contest and each other, despite being, we kind of gather, especially towards the end, that they are kind of enemies,
right?
Frenemies, sort of. If nothing else, they respect each other, even if they're not necessarily friends. Although we do get the line that they are friends based off of an interaction. I first encountered him attempting to rob some mortals. Interesting world building there and character building. I was polite enough in my insistence that he decided he liked me. So, yeah, I just thought it's very interesting. And the action itself was very well described.
It really was.
My issue with action scenes is I will either tune out because I can't follow them.
Yeah.
Or I weirdly get bored with them.
I'm the exact same way. And similarly, I was actually able to follow this action.
Yeah. And the way that we get, I guess this is because Kai is we'll call him the antagonist, or we'll call them the antagonist. And Swan is our point of view character. The way that we get their reactions to what is happening, like their internal dialogue as far as what's happening in this fight, I thought was really a really good touch and shows just how present and in the moment our point of view character is,
Yes.
and how, I guess, how good they are
Mm-hmm.
at this, how capable they are.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the line, I charged for it anyways. I had thought of the tactic in prior bouts, but did not want to risk the attempt lest he have more tricks up his sleeve. But he had just revealed a very good trick, so I could respond in kind. That almost gave me the idea of like two chess masters
Mm-hmm.
playing against each other.
Yeah.
You can see whenever they've overreached or overstepped and they are taking advantage of this and exploiting it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means kind of putting themselves at risk, they take this opportunity to advance and basically never let up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really great action sequence, very well told.
I concur.
I will say the ending felt abrupt,
Mm-hmm.
as in almost like we left mid thought.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any catharsis, isn't the right word. I didn't get necessarily any closure from what we were trying. Seemed like we were setting up with this dialogue between Swan and the junior sister.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like a strange place to leave off. I figured that Nick Chu just probably ran out of time or wasn't quite ready to move on into this part of the story. But either way, I thought that introducing us to the backstory of our point of view character Swan and Kai,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting, and and doing it through dialogue from another character was fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I do wonder, like, what's going on here? Like, is Swan somehow like setting up Kai? Because the junior sister is like, it can't be easy putting up that front.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but your autonomy is more important. I can put up with some discomfort. So it's like Swan is like playing some part. He's got some type of like agenda.
Yeah, and maybe Kai is either related or has some ties to this junior sister.
Mm-hmm.
And by with Swan keeping him essentially occupied with this rivalry, it enables the autonomy of
right.
this junior sister.
Or maybe it's that Kai wants to marry the junior sister and Swan is boning him to keep him
interesting choice of words.
to keep him, in like away from her.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that maybe he, in order to marry or take the hand of, or whatever this world does,
right.
They first have to defeat Swan.
Yeah,
like he's the gatekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Interesting, very interesting story, very well written, and a really good action sequence.
Yes,
so thank you, Nick Chu.
Thank you, Nick Chu. It was wonderful. Okay, so now we're on to Nathaniel McLean with Gwen.
Gwen.
Yes.
So this is the third entry into the series of stories that Nathaniel McLean has submitted to us. So essentially at the start, we pick up, and we had mentioned that we didn't think that there was any way to continue this story, but we thought it'd be interesting to see if you could. And sure enough, here we have the continuation.
Yeah.
And we find out that we get the line, usually people turn after a few hours with a strong bite or passing of fluids into the bloodstream, but this seems different. And we find out that he is immune, but that's impossible. We don't understand how he's not turned yet.
But it kind of seems like he is in the process of turning because he's like superhuman fast.
Right. But something is different in this case. So I could see this as essentially being the inciting incident for a larger story to follow, where we have this one person who is somehow able to coexist with this disease, this illness, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And potentially be, that patient zero, or not patient zero, but the one person who's immune that could end up saving everybody, So that kind of seems like what we're setting up, potentially setting up here. Although it could also go the other way, in where he's just able to coexist with it for longer, but eventually he's still ultimately doomed.
Yes.
So couple really interesting ways that you could take it.
Oh yeah. Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to want to be alive either. Because he's like, why me? Why am I cursed? Why would I be cursed with life in this wretched time?
Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like that this is a pretty bad time to be alive. Yeah.
Post-apocalypse. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, to be honest. But I mean, I would be interested to see if this will continue, and if it does, if he's able to get away from the situation that he currently finds himself in, which is in the middle of a bunch of runners with an axe.
Which I suppose there are a couple ways that you could do that. You could drop us right into that action.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the action of him dealing with these runners.
Mm-hmm.
Another way you could do it is drop us in right after the action.
Mm-hmm.
And just we get the evidence that he survived or that he didn't survive, and we're in Gwen's perspective.
Yes.
Moving forward.
Right.
I don't know. I felt like that there's a lot of promise for directions that you could take this story. Seems like a really good inciting incident for a longer story, and setting us up for something with Gwen, either a relationship between John and Gwen, and sort of a Last of Us premise. Last of Us is about a man and a young girl through a zombie apocalypse. So it felt very similar to that.
Yeah.
But just the same, you could also do it as just the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that John essentially sacrifices himself to get Gwen out of there.
The point of view, well, that's not the point of view. This is third person. But the main character could become the girl.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. They like pass the torch, kind of.
Yeah. And I actually had a note. I felt like the end was rushed, but that actually sort of works in its favor because it gives it a really frantic and frenetic rush to the end. Even things like typos and things. I don't know why, but it actually really worked.
It did.
It just gave it this like
really frantic.
Yeah, feeling. Really frenetic.
It totally did. And also I really, really like the last line where it's like, he grabs his axe, adrenaline coursing through his body, lights a cigarette, takes a drag, removes the crowbar holding the door shut, slams the door open, and jumps straight into the crowd of runners. I guess that was like really good imagery for me. And it sounded really cool. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I think people who do look really cool.
Okay. This is not us condoning smoking cigarettes.
No, it's a horrible thing to do. But I still think it looks cool.
Yes.
I'm not going to do it, but I like to watch other people do it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And just, especially from just the line, fuck it. If I'm going out, I'm taking every single one of these motherfuckers with me. John looks at the little girl, hands her a shotgun. She takes it with surprise. Okay, look. I'm going out there to kill these bastards in case they kill me first. Use the shotgun, aim it at the door. Safety's off. Like, again, it's just piling us through all of this just really quickly. I thought that the rush to the end really worked in your favor in this case.
Yeah.
So
it seemed like Nathaniel was very, very excited. I don't know why I just like pictured Nathaniel at their computer, just totally immersed in the story and just being like, and then.
It's funny because I imagined like whenever we're at the line, fuck it.
Yeah.
In my head, I pictured like they look over and they've been writing for 29 minutes. And then they said, fuck it. And they're like, okay, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to do this in 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this done. Just hammered it out.
Right.
And I thought it was, it just works.
It
works
was
for me.
a fun read.
It's a fun read. And despite us thinking that number 2 was the end, this has places to go.
It does.
I would say go back and look at your first 2 and see about maybe doing some edits on the submissions that you have so far and just really dial them in, hone them in.
Yes.
All right. Moving on.
Yep. Moving on.
We have a new submitter.
Whoop, whoop.
This is Ghost No 7.
Yeah.
Also potentially Ghost number 7.
Yes.
Welcome, Ghost.
Welcome, Ghost.
This is titled You Entertain Me.
Mm-hmm. I like that title.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, there were some, first of all, there's a lot of good dialogue in here.
Mm-hmm.
The line, this is said to our character who has a bag over their head.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've rarely seen eye to eye, and right now, well, it's a bit tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just a fun play on our perspective. The fact that, well, they literally,
you literally can't. Someone has a sack over their head.
So it starts out really clever, and that really pulled me in and got me kind of into the dialogue that you're putting down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out through dialogue, a sigh echoed around me. Cops like you should know when you're defeated, shouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's a nice way of cluing us into who is under the bag. It's cop.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that this person who has kidnapped the cop is their partner.
Mm-hmm.
Current partner, former partner, and I assume partner in this case means another cop.
Yeah. Yes.
They're remarking on the fact that they're not wearing a uniform when the bag is pulled off of their head. And that's whenever we find out that she pointed at the sack that she'd never touched as it hovered between us in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, I was like,
we got magic.
What? Yeah, magic, superpowers, whatever, superheroes, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But just move further along. We're trying to figure out. We have the line, all the shit you never found evidence for, she said, all the times bullets missed me or you, and yet. Basically, that's them trying to tell them, like, you never thought, like, I thought better of you. I expected more from you, that you should be able to know that wasn't just chance. That was essentially them intervening, I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, I had a really hard time following this story. And I don't know, it might just be me and the fact that I am very exhausted. And I was whenever I read this. But I just couldn't figure out what was going on. Kind of. Maybe that was just me.
I was able to follow it. Whenever I read this, I arrived at all the points and the fact that there's superpowers. Also, I do think that the dialogue is moving us into this world, like this world with superpowers, very subtly. So that may be part of it. It's kind of layered in subtlety.
Okay.
Just to, I guess, kind of clue you in. The bag is pulled off. It hovers in the air between them. Her finger reached out. She chuckled. Here I am, death warrant practically in my hand. But you didn't know. No, I admitted. And basically goes on to explain things that could have clued them in the past. Also, there's some nice characterization. If I was going to be honest, which I wasn't going to be with her, clues us into the fact that our point of view character is willing to be dishonest with this partner, this former partner, current partner. So I thought that was some good characterization as well. We're not meant to have that power, I yelled, panicking. The people didn't pick us to wear capes or do this shit, kill people with it. So that line right there, the people didn't pick us to wear capes, tells me that maybe there are superheroes or people with powers in this world, but it's like democratically elected people, are like people are chosen to be with powers. Or maybe cops do have power. Well, no, it says we're not meant to have that power. So maybe cops do have some form of power, maybe not that form.
Are they cops or are they some like tribe of superheroes?
We get the word cops like you should know when you're defeated, shouldn't you? So they are described as a cop.
That's true.
So the way I kind of read that was either there is an order of cops, just standard cops, and a separate order of powered, super enabled people. Yeah. Super abled people. Or maybe It's both. So that's basically, yeah, we're not meant to have that power. I yelled, panicking. The people didn't pick us to wear capes or do this shit, kill people with it. Yet we are here. I paused. This is where I thought the story got really interesting. We're basically past the setup. We know that we have a cop tied to a chair, being interrogated and threatened by their former partner who has superpowers. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
So
the former partner has gone to the dark side, basically.
Yeah, that's what we're establishing.
And wanting her former partner to join her on the dark side. But this one that's got the sack over her head is like, no, I'm not going to compromise my integrity.
Yeah, very noble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a Gryffindor for sure.
Yeah, definitely a Gryffindor, yeah. But so this is where I thought it'd get really interesting because, so why are you showing me? And basically it comes down to they are going through this whole thing just so she says, join us. Basically, join the dark side.
Yes.
Do it.
Join us.
Join us. Come play with us, Danny.
That's what I was about to say.
And then basically we get, I'm not going to throw everything away, just I believe in just to survive. Which, yeah, I highlighted that and just said noble. That's a noble thought.
It's a very Gryffindor thought.
Would you do it to catch us instead? So that the way they line those up, I'm not going to throw away everything I believe in just to survive. Would you do it to catch us instead? And then I blinked. That wasn't a no. Why? I asked. Why would you ever think about letting me do that? And it's because you entertain me, girl.
Yeah.
Do I need any more reason than that?
You entertain me, girl.
Yeah. So again, this comes back to like a frenemy type situation. Like they had, despite having complete and total control, this other person, this super abled person can't just kill this obstacle in their way.
Right.
I really liked that, especially once we kind of established the setting and the scene, the reasons and the motivations behind this character are fascinating.
Yes, very.
I really liked that.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. Like now that I'm able to kind of see what's going on, I really think it was my exhaustion because there was a line that I was reading earlier that I could not understand, but just now whenever I looked at it, it made sense. And it's the one where it's like, throughout a bunch of my theories, if I was being honest, which I wasn't going to be with her. I read that line a zillion times and I could not figure it out because which I wasn't going to be with her.
Referring to honesty.
But I didn't realize that at first. And because it's like its own sentence, and it's like grammatically, it should be like a relative clause.
I would say if I was to correct that and help avoid confusion, I would say throughout a bunch of my theories, if I was being honest, comma, which I wasn't going to be with her.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That makes it a relative clause.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the comma versus the separate sentence would help clarify that.
But if you're not super tired while reading it, then it might just immediately make sense to you.
Yeah. But it does kind of give some evidence towards how the grammar can help keep things clear throughout. Again, not that grammar is our focus here, but I do think when it is involved with clarity, I do think that it is important to bring it up. So yeah, I think a comma there would certainly help, Ghost. But really, overall, I really like this story, and I know that in the comments that several other people had mentioned how it reminded them of The Boys. I
was gonna say,
yeah, it's and anytime you are making me think about the Boys, the show, that's fun. That's a fun
You're
a fun show.
You're a happy camper.
Well, I'm a happy camper, and also I feel like that's kind of a fine line to walk sometimes. In the style of something else, and still being uniquely yours, and not just like fan fiction. I think that's an interesting line to walk, and it's fun to see a lot of these things. Like I feel like this is the second story that we've gotten that was sort of Boys-esque.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't necessarily just drop it into that story and be like, oh yeah, this is the boys. Like we're getting the boys fan fiction. No, this feels like it's its own thing.
Yeah, and there's also the possibility that the author of this has not even seen the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, all that to say, I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was some very believable dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And you have anything else to add?
I do not. I think it's time to move on to our next story.
Yes. Thank you, Ghost Number 7, for your story. Thank you for joining us.
No 7.
Ghost No 7.
Okay, so our next one is by our very own Successful Read 6361.
Yes. Welcome back, Successful Read.
Welcome back. And this one is called Your Move. I think that this is about chess.
I think it is also about chess. Or better yet, I also think that it is about chess.
That makes more sense.
That makes sense.
You could say, I think also.
But not, I think
this
is also about chess. Also.
I think this is about chess also.
Think I chess this also.
About.
Okay.
So yes, I very much enjoy the, but at first, okay, because I'm just going to be honest with you guys and gals, y'all out there, I am not as sophisticated as Matt here, and I do not play chess.
Is that a sign of sophistication?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't. I had some Mongolians teach me one time in Mongolia, and it was hard because they were telling me everything in Mongolian, and that was some kind of very specific vocabulary.
Oh, you mean in relating to chess?
Yes. And by the way, the game is called Shatter.
Shatter.
No, Shatter.
Shatter.
That was close, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's chess, which I always thought was funny because it sounds like shat.
Oh my God.
Which is my nephew's favorite word.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, so at first I did not know that this was about chess. And I thought this was an allusion to the origin of the word decimate.
What? Explain yourself.
Nope, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
JK, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So decimate is actually comes from the Roman army back in the days when Rome was a thing. Well, it still is, but you know what I mean, as an empire.
Right.
And if your soldiers retreated, like ran away, what is that called?
Flee.
Yeah, but isn't there like a word for it?
Oh, yes.
Well, we don't know, but
yes, there's a word there.
It's a word whenever the soldiers get scared and they run away because the other side is super intimidating. Anyway, so if they did that,
abscond.
Sure. If the army, if the troops absconded, then later after the battle or whatever, when they were back on their home turf, doing their military thing, they would get lined up. The abscondees would get lined up. Is this hurting your brain?
Oh, it's a word. What is it?
I don't know. Like abscond. Okay. They would get lined up, and every 10th soldier would get killed. And that's the des part. Deck.
Really?
Yes.
That's the origin of decimate?
That's the origin. So decimate is the execution of every 10th Roman soldier. And it gradually over time came to just mean completely destroy. Decimate. But I thought this story was an allusion to, because it's like we were all standing at arm's length side by side.
Comrades standing at arms. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was imagining these Roman soldiers just standing there like waiting. And it was like the silence is almost deafening. I just thought that's what it was about. But I was wrong.
So, full disclosure, Successful Read, I landed on a chess match at the line, "We who will make the first move, but only the masterminds will see how this will end." That's where I was kind of clued in on my first read. This sounds like a chess match. The word mastermind is what drew me to that. And I think that was a clever use of the word mastermind, because we often associate the word master with a chess master. So calling them a mastermind, I thought, was a deft use of mastermind.
Deft use.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we who will make the first move implies that our character is a pawn. Could be a knight, but most likely a pawn, because my comrades standing at arm's length side by side, that implies a pawn. I just thought that this was very, very clever. The repeated bum bum for their heartbeat, bum bum, comes up several times. I thought that was fun. Again, guys, the paragraph breaks, like, give that the weight that it wants. Put it on its own line, and make me take a break from what came before it. I think that will really lend it the weight that I think you're looking for.
Yeah, totally.
But I thought this was clever.
Yeah.
And a clever take on the rivalry prompt as well, because every chess match is essentially a rivalry between black and white.
Yes.
So, and the two players. But I thought this could be really interesting. The fact that the pieces are aware of the masterminds. I think that would be fun to see the relationship that the pieces have with the masterminds, like, or at least their perspective of what the mastermind is.
Yeah.
I think that could be a really fun story. And you have as many pieces on the board, like, those could each of them be characters. Like, you could go so deep into this concept. I think it would be just really, really interesting, and a very clever use.
Yeah, it is a pretty fun idea of personifying the chess pieces.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun diving into and just basically confirming my theory that this was a chess match. As I pass my fellow men, my heart starts to pound. And them essentially watching one of their comrades get killed. A knowing sacrifice.
And that all also led me to continue believing it was about decimation. But anyway, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I liked it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of those paragraph breaks. They can really lend you some weight in the places that you want. But yeah, thanks for bringing your chess story to us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Successful Read.
Thank you, Successful Read.
And next, we have Richie Posher with Nick's Gambit. Yes.
I enjoyed this quite a bit. I did not know if it was prison or military, some type of punishment. It's definitely some type of punishment, it seems.
Yeah, or at least some sort of internment camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they seem to have some type of freedom to a certain extent.
Yeah, the choice to take on this hard labor or not.
Yeah. Is it a chain gang? Or in another dimension? Because there's girls and boys together?
I got the idea that it was like a prison atmosphere, or like I mentioned, an internment camp, like basically putting these inmates to work for cheap or free labor. And I guess they have worked out some form of a contest as a means of reducing the sentence that they have to carry out by 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That's kind of what I landed at. But just in general, I thought this was a very well described story.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot different from Richie's other stories.
It does.
The characterization that we get there's Carla. The characterization that we get of Carla was very, very clear, very notable character, and very unique character. She not your average woman.
She ain't.
Because nobody can swing that hammer like Carla can.
Nope.
To the point where it's basically a fool's game to try and go up against her to reduce your sentence.
Yeah. Maybe it's community service.
It could be. Although, I mean, we get 10 months, 2 weeks, and a day. That's what he had to get through. So that's just like just a time frame that he needs to get through. So it makes
Like
me think of a
community
sentence.
Hey, community service is a sentence too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. But further rooting me in the prison idea, just this line, which goes a long way to characterize Carla as well. You know, Little Miss Tight Pants isn't waiting around for your tiny little cock. I saw you in the showers. You got a cute ass, but that's about all you're packing.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of implies that they're all trapped here, and they all share these facilities. Possibly, it doesn't have to.
End though, it says Nick grabbed his bag at the entrance to the mine and headed towards the bunkhouse at the far end of the city.
That's true.
So that makes me think that they have more freedom. Maybe they're slaves. Maybe they're indentured servants.
Yeah, maybe
who have
that's
like a specific period of time that they have to do like slave labor.
Yeah.
Until they work it off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll buy that. You're right. That does imply more freedom than I kind of was giving them credit for.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of characterization of Carla.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like we get a ton of characterization for Nick.
Yeah, not as much as Carla, but what we do know is that he is not packing.
Yes, but he's got a cute ass.
Yes, and he apparently has a love interest back home.
Yeah, or at least Carla implies that she thinks he has a love interest back home.
True.
And that he's willing to go to these lengths, this contest with Carla to attempt to reduce that time that it takes to get back to wherever and or whoever. But I feel like we got a lot of characterization of Carla. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from Nick. Yeah. Although it adds I would say it adds intrigue. I'm curious. If nothing else, we're here asking questions like, well, who is he? So that could just be a means of setting us up to learn more in another entry, possibly.
Yeah.
But
it was a compelling read, though, for sure.
It certainly was. Yes. And we get another character, Devon.
Yeah.
Don't worry about her. She's just bitter. You got further than anyone else I've seen. That's something. So that basically clues us into Nick is no slouch, but Carla is something else.
Right. She's some kind of badass.
Yeah, she is. Well, okay. Thanks, Richie.
Yes.
Nick's Gambit. I really did like that one. You did a lot of characterization in that dialogue. So thank you.
Yeah, that one was definitely one that made me want to read more.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely take more in that story.
Yes. Okay, so we're moving on to our next and final story.
Yes.
By Ace of Sword called Future Tension.
Yes. Uncalled for.
Anyway, okay, I was very interested by this story and I really wanted it to keep going.
I did too. Yeah, I really wanted more out of this.
Yeah. I did not want it to end. I just loved the setting and to see what's going to happen. Like, man, there were just so many things that made me want to know more. Clearly, there is magic happening in the story. It seems to be, well, at first I was thinking it was kind of like a Renaissance, kind of like a medieval kind of. I know they're two totally different time periods, but
right, yeah.
A medieval kind of vibe. But then there was a gun.
A medieval classical Renaissance.
Right.
Yeah.
Baroque,
Baroque,
if you will.
Medieval classical Renaissance.
Yes. Kind of a little Victorian. But then there was a gun, and I was like, I don't think they had guns in medieval times. So then that changed my idea of the setting.
Yeah. But just the same, because we eventually learned that there's magic, trying to root it in some point in history.
True, because it's time magic.
Yeah. I think it might be, I feel like it's an arbitrary distinction.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like we kind of have this like medieval type of thing going on. and then there's a gun, and then I thought there was going to be like a romance scene between Sarah and Mary.
I kind of did too.
Yeah, but then I feel like that was a red heron, not a red herring. Yes, this is a new thing I just made up.
Okay. All right.
A red heron. Whenever he's like, she put her hand into Mary's sleeve.
On a reread, the line, only Mary was trying to move toward her, staying at the edge of the circle, ready to jump in, but hesitating. On a reread, that clues us into the fact that Mary is there to protect Sarah. Yes, yeah. I thought it was Sarah. So yeah, Mary is there to protect Sarah to whatever extent that she can, but she clearly can tell that Sarah is in some kind of danger here, but is hesitant to jump in, thinking to make it worse. And we just get all these characters get thrown at us just really quickly. Her soon-to-be ex-fiance, then given your egregious conduct against Anne du Chasseur, I don't know, against Chasseur, and the Chasseur, yeah, who
Chasseur.
I am breaking our engagement, he said, moving to her side. Father next. I must sincerely apologize against daughter's actions, Prince Louis or Louis. So it's just this rapid fire of characters, and they're all coming out and speaking against Sarah.
Yeah.
And just the only disgrace he cared about was that she failed and the engagement was off. I was like, Father of the Year. Wow, dude.
But it just sounded like one of them royal family things.
Yeah, and also, what did she do? All of this is just building up to, it's like, we have no idea what she has done, but I'm just becoming more and more invested.
What did she do to Anne? Because, I mean, clearly she ends up shooting her.
She didn't shoot Anne.
Really? I thought she did.
No. With a whispered incantation and a lazy rotation of her hand, time stops, and that's whenever she goes and gets the gun from Mary. And so whenever she takes the gun, everybody tries to stop her. It's too late, much too late. Sarah has already raised the gun and pressed the trigger. We don't know who her target was, though.
But it says that Louis was throwing himself in front of Anne.
Yeah.
Like Anne was the target and Louis was trying to protect her.
But later in the second half, we learned that this was essentially a dream. Or like precognition of some kind.
Right.
And since then, the dream had ended with her shooting herself. That's Ace of Sword cluing us into the target at the end of the first half was herself. I will admit, the fact that Louis throwing himself in front of Anne was a little confusing.
I think it's funny, though, thinking about what she could have done to Anne. Because it's like, okay, Sarah had her fiance or whatever. So that wasn't like Anne's fiance that she stole, you know? She hadn't killed Anne because Anne was still standing there. It's like she must have somehow like fucked up Anne, like beat her ass or something. And that to me is amusing to contemplate on. She was like bullying Anne. Like, what could it be? What could she have done to Anne? Let's use our imaginations.
I'm kind of assuming it's something to do with a relationship between Louis and Anne. But like she did something, maybe seduced Louis.
But Louis is isn't Louis
her soon-to-be ex-fiance?
Soon-to-be ex-fiance.
Yeah, so that was all arranged. You're right. Then maybe she seduced Anne.
And so everyone is like, how dare you, Sarah, make Anne sleep with you?
I'm sure I have no idea.
I'm so sorry that my daughter seduced that one girl over there. It's funny to think about, to be honest. Egregious conduct against Anne.
Weirdly, I think that might fit.
Seducing Anne?
Yeah. Yeah, egregious conduct. Imagine like hyper traditional, especially considering the kind of time period, because you were thinking, Baroque, classical, medieval, Renaissance.
Right, that whole era.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't Anne get in trouble too for that? Because Anne is also a female, and the female is always getting in trouble for that kind of thing.
Huh. What else could it be? What else could it be? Stole a horse. Stole Anne's horse.
Pantsed Anne. Bloomered Anne in front of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be it. Yeah. Just straight up pantsed Anne.
If that's not a reason to call off an engagement, I don't know what is.
I don't know what is. Well, before we speculate any further, I'm gonna cut us off right here.
Oh.
Thank you, Ace of Sword.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely really enjoyed this story. I
did too. I did
think
not want it to end. Can you please make it keep going?
Please make it keep going.
Please don't make it stop.
Don't make it stop. I want more.
Yeah.
This is such a delightful read.
We want some more.
That is our stories for this week and for episode 6. So shout out to everybody who submitted a story to us. Steve Living Room for being selected here today, as well as Chillaxing Yak, Steve Living Room, which we already said that. So welcome back, Steve.
Welcome back.
Walker by Faith, Mio Mersoy, Mexikim, Nick Hugh, Nathaniel McLean, Ghost number 7, Successful Read 6361, Richie Posier, and Ace of Sword. Guys, this was another record. We had 11 stories this week. That's the most we've had to date. Also, shout out to everybody who left comments here. Walker by Faith, Steve Living Room. You know what? It is everybody but
oh my God,
Mio Mersoy and Ghost number 7.
Oh, okay. So you're not the only failure, Mio Mersoy.
God, it's brutal.
Just joking, guys.
No, there was some really great discussion.
There's
also, you guys got a picture of our puppy, our under Mexican story there. That's our Pepe.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he's in there.
Okay.
Looking all
I'm gonna go check him.
All puppy like.
Oh.
Yeah. But so moving on to episode 7. The prompt is an intro line, and the line is: the letter arrived on a Tuesday, stained with coffee and smelling of the sea.
I love that.
I like that one too.
Oh, that one's good.
So again, the letter arrived on a Tuesday, stained with coffee and smelling of the sea.
Oh, man.
So use that line as the first sentence for your story on episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
And our words for episode 7 are pasture, understand, shop, problem, and bury. You got a definition for pasture?
Yes, I do. Pasture can be a noun or a verb.
No, it can't. It's just a
noun. Yes, it can.
How do you pasture? Oh, I just had to say it.
Yeah.
You pasture something.
Yep. So, pasture, I was about to say something completely false. Pasture is like where you put animals to eat.
Yeah, like to graze. Yeah.
To graze. And well, as a verb, it means to put animals out to graze, to pasture the cows or whatever.
Can also be like isn't that an expression, put out to pasture?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when somebody's done.
Right, out of commission.
Put you out to pasture.
Defunct.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not to be confused with, it is not in any way related. Well, maybe in a very long time ago, distant way. But it's, for all practical purposes, not in any way related to the term pasteurize. Although you might be thinking, oh, yeah, like milk from cows, which are in pastures.
No, completely.
But no, it's completely different because pasteurize is spelled E-U-R, and it comes from the very one and only Louis Pasteur, who created that whole thing.
Pasteurization method?
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that it was named after somebody.
I learned that when I was like 5.
Wow. Good for you. Come from a long line of dairy farmers, do you?
No,
Oh.
it's because my dad bought for me and my brother these books called values books. And they're little kids' books, and each one was about a different famous person. There was one about Louis Pasteur, Harriet Tubman, Helen Keller, Benjamin Franklin. There were several.
Interesting.
But anyway, and in the Louis Pasteur one, it had this picture of a rabid dog. Because, he created vaccines. Did you not know that either?
No.
What did you even think was the purpose of Louis Pasteur?
I think that's the wrong question. Who even was Louis Pasteur?
Have you ever heard of him?
Well, I'm sure at some point I have, but there's only so much room up here, and it's just full of lyrics and nonsense.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Next word is understand.
Understand means to stand under something.
Yeah. No. Means to comprehend something.
Understand.
So yeah, to just understand.
Comprehend. I like comprehend. To comprehend something. Okay. Next one is shop. Shop can be a noun or a verb. Shop. It's a place where you buy things. You can also say the expression talk shop.
Oh yeah, shop talk. Yeah.
Shop talk. There's a shop vac.
Like a workshop, short for a workshop. Next word is problem.
Problem. This is an obstacle, a thing that is difficult to surpass.
And it could be physical problem, mental problem,
math problem,
a hypothetical problem, meta problem. Problems come in all shapes and sizes.
Don't even get me started on meta problems. Problem.
There's a problem for everything.
Yeah.
Engineers invent problems.
Are you an engineer?
No, but I know it's a saying.
But you kind of are an engineer, aren't you?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
In some type of way.
Okay,
problem. All right. And then lastly is my favorite one.
Berry.
Not to be confused with the edible item.
That grows on a bush.
Because it depends on where you're from, how you pronounce this. Some may say burry. We, being rednecks, say berry.
Berry. Yeah.
And, that's when you put something underground. Or under something. You put something under something.
Yeah, I would say the first association would be to put it underground. And it's only a verb, right? Berry.
I think so, yes.
Berry.
Which is sad, because I like to talk about all the weird potential meanings of a word, and this is only a freaking verb.
Yeah. One trick pony.
Boring.
Bury. Bury.
Bury.
I'm going to bury some berries.
I'm going to bury some berries.
Bury some berries. Well, all right. If you want to be like these wonderful writers and submit your story to You Write, head on over to our subreddit at reddit.com/r/youwritepod.
If you're unable to submit a story this week, that is okay. You can still help by reading and commenting on other people's stories. And the more you read, the smarter you will get. That's a proven fact. It's proven. By many studies.
Yes. All you have to do is read.
Right.
Each time you post a story or leave a comment on someone else's submission, you increase your chances of having your story read aloud on the podcast. So, Mio Mirsoy, we're never going to get to your stories aloud unless you post some feedback.
Yeah, you've got to do that.
You got to do it, bro.
You got to do it.
Got to get there.
If you ever want to get famous on our podcast.
Which is inevitable.
Yes. You can also reach us at youwritepod@gmail.com. That's youwritepod@gmail.com.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
If you like our show and you want to help support us, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/youwrite.
If you are unable to donate, that's fine too. You can still help us by sharing the podcast with other writers and non-writers alike.
And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you know as soon as new episodes are available.
Also, be sure to leave us a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice. We still haven't gotten a review, have
No
we?
reviews. Not
Do y'all are y'all even listening right now?
Actually, you know what? I probably need to check that. I could just be lying.
Okay, because
So actually, it's going to take too long to pull it up, see if but I feel like I would be notified if we got a review.
yeah.
But last time I checked, we
are
didn't
y'all
have
even
any.
listening to us right now?
That's fine if you're not. I understand. That's fine. That's
Okay.
just fine.
Right.
And remember, join us next week on You Write.
A podcast where you write.
Nobody knows the trouble I see.
See y'all next week.
Nobody knows my sorrow.
Oh my god.
Is that good?
Is beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.